Cabin Sports Radio.
Here comes the siren. I want to go higher. Oh, my goodness. Posey will defend. Oh! LeBron James with no regard for human life.
Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler. Unreal.
Oh, baby, for sure.
Cabin Sports Radio starts now.
Cabin Sports Radio, brought to you by Sport North, moving sport forward. Lecter and Unbreakable Mike Gibbons in the house once again with you. Mike, right off the top, what does it feel like to be the fan of a championship team?
I never thought I would be alive for this. It feels good. It's surreal, but really good.
We will talk more about the Toronto Raptors and some other stuff on Cabin Sports Radio.
The CSR Podcast.
Cabin Sports Radio brought to you by Sport North, moving sport forward. Check out sportnorth.com for all the programs they have going on all year round. Most specifically now, of course, it's graduation week for the kids. They're counting down the days for their final days of school here and before they embark on their summer holidays. So you would think that it's time to really not think about or talk about anything school related, but may as well get ahead of it. If you are an athlete or sports-inclined youth, you can apply for some Sport North scholarships. Head to sportnorth.com. You go to programs. They've got scholarships at the bottom. Deadline is August 15th. If you click on the link there, they have got the application to apply, and they take you through everything you need to know and everything you need to do in the application process. And if you need more information on that, if you scroll right to the bottom of that page, there is a link to the NWT Student Financial Assistance website, and you can get some more info there on how you can apply should you be eligible for Sport North scholarships. Again, check that out at sportnorth.com. Mr. Mike Gibbons, I can only imagine what it is like to be you right now, less than 1 week removed from, as far as I know, your favorite sports team, the Toronto Raptors, are NBA champions. How are you doing?
It was really a string of emotions. It was a weird Thursday for me. I feel like at some point I should have been hooked up to a heart machine. I was having murmurs or palpitations, or I don't know.
Something weird was going on.
I don't know the exact terminology. But there were periods of that game I did not feel good at all. And I definitely made sure respectfully, thankfully my neighbors are out of town, to close the windows. There were some choice words said at different parts of the game, depending on the emotion, right? It was good, it was bad. But
it was ugly.
Yeah.
It was euphoric.
Yep.
It was all things.
It was really remarkable. So I've long said, and you can probably troll through my Facebook statuses from my youth. I've been quoted at times as saying, Toronto sports franchises are going to take years off my life. I will never be alive for a Toronto championship. And that was all proven wrong on Thursday night. So we know that they had a chance right after our last show last week, and we went down to a local establishment to take in that game and left pretty heartbroken. That ended in a way that Raptors fans didn't want it to in Game 5. But I mean, retribution for Kyle Lowry, right? Like
Absolutely.
he had the championship on his fingertips.
Yeah.
At the end of that game, we did find out after the fact, really poor shot at the end of Game 5.
Right.
But we saw after the fact that Draymond Green got a couple fingers on it, which is why it looked like such a poor shot at the time. And you could tell that he wanted to make it right, and he came out like a man possessed. Team high 26 points in the clincher last Thursday's Game 6, 114-110 over the Warriors to claim the Raptors' first championship. I think he scored the team's first 11 points or something like that, so he came out really hot.
Really, I mean, between that final buzzer shot of Game 5 and then through all of Game 6, that was almost like a microcosm of Kyle Lowry's playoff career as a Toronto Raptor. So much pressure being the guy for so many years. Him and DeMar DeRozan were, 1A, 1B. Still the guy, even with Kawhi Leonard there. obviously Kawhi was the engine. The Toronto Raptors were going to live and die with how far Kawhi Leonard could carry them, at least through the first 3 rounds, and then it was anyone's guess after that what happens. Everyone's saying it themselves, even Kawhi saying it himself. Kyle Lowry still the quarterback of the team, without question, and really like I said, you saw that final buzzer shot in Game 5 didn't quite get it done.
Yeah,
and then Game 6 came out and, like you said, just played like a man possessed. And we saw that like just throughout this playoff in general. He got better and better as the playoffs went on. And so did the Raptors' depth in general. But it seemed like Kyle Lowry was the one that was kind of picking them up, leading by example, and saying, hey, we need to support Kawhi, and we could do some really good things because we are a really good team when we're firing on all cylinders.
Happy that things turned around for him. It's hard to put it in perspective, but they've been on a really successful run, even though you don't have the titles or multiple titles now. But going back to 2014, they've been in the dance every time. And the first of their playoff runs ended on his fingertips again in Game 7 against Brooklyn on home court, where he was blocked at the rim. And you could tell he felt absolutely devastated. The team's fortunes were in his hands, and he wasn't able to deliver. So it's a long time coming for Kyle Lowry. He was the first one, and I think very fittingly, to lift Larry O.B., as Kawhi referred to the title as, the Larry O'Brien Trophy. And you could see, and with Masai right beside him, after dealing his best friend, DeMar DeRozan. But
I thought you were going to say fresh off getting an assault charge.
Well, there was that questionable carding incident, which I mean, that was not a good look for the security there. Well, how do you not know he's the president and general manager? Really?
Yeah, I mean, that's you gotta know where you are, right?
But it was a nice moment that Kyle sought him out immediately. He was the first person that he ran to get onto the court and share an embrace with, because he knows he was under the gun all year long after trading away the face of your franchise, firing the head coach of the year. I bet few people in the world feel better right now than Masai Ujiri, because this was a huge gamble on someone who already had health issues, who only played 9 games last year in Kawhi Leonard, and is now an unrestricted free agent come the end of this month. So it was a huge gamble, but I like that Kyle sought him out first. They shared that moment. They've obviously put all that behind them now. They're champions. Great story for Nick Nurse, too, right? Like a rookie NBA coach.
Absolutely.
One of very few now to win a title in his first year at the helm. And then obviously Kawhi winning finals MVP. Now the first player ever to have won a finals MVP in both conferences. And at the age of 27 already has a pretty stellar resume to his name. I love the title of Dynasty Killer, right? Like he's in, what would it have been? 2014, was that when the Spurs defeated the Heat in 5 games?
Right.
LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. That's nothing to sneeze at. And then questionably, I mean, we'll see what happens in the next few weeks and months, which will be very interesting now for the Golden State Warriors. And obviously, we know they weren't at full health.
Right.
But again, preventing another three-peat at the hands of another dynasty in the Golden State Warriors. So we knew at the start of the year when they pulled the trigger on this move that they were all in. All the chips were in the middle of the table. That's what Masai was saying. That's what the rest of the organization was saying. And, you hear everything come out now. And Danny Green and Kawhi Leonard, both when they joined, they knew they had a special group. Marc Gasol knew there was a special group here in Toronto, and they had a chance, and they said, let's get this thing. Yeah. And now for it to all come full circle. Their first championship ever in 24 years since the team was created in 95. So it's a long time coming, and 2 million people hit the streets today. It was a pretty cool moment.
Man, what an incredible looking scene is, like you mentioned, the Toronto Raptors celebrating their NBA championship parade in downtown Toronto today. I'm assuming you saw some of the shots of the post-game celebrations.
Oh, yes.
Like not an inch to be found in that crowd down there. And I mean, it's you alluded to it just earlier. This is years worth of redemption for this city And this franchise in particular, you know, all the other Toronto sports franchises, hardships notwithstanding, for the Toronto Raptors in particular, this is years of redemption in the making on its own. Like you said, they were right there. You know, the last 2-3 years, they were a team that maybe if they had another bounce or two go their way, maybe had, you know, another piece on the roster like a Kawhi Leonard or someone who could just put them over the top, they could have been in the NBA Finals prior to now. And then, you know, anyone's guess as to what happens at that point. But even coming through this season when, you know, were they the first place team or second in the Eastern Conference?
This year, second to Milwaukee.
So, I mean, you know, regardless, you know, a top 2 team, and they still weren't projected to come out of that, to even make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think the 76ers, the Bucks, and I think Boston were projected ahead of them, right? So even despite the remarkable regular season they had, you know, even with Kawhi Leonard playing what is, you know, maybe like 2/3 or a little bit less of the games of the season, the whole load management thing, they still were not being given the respect that they perhaps deserved coming into this playoff run. So that all that factored in, like, it's just got to be such a huge relief for this club and its fans.
Yeah, a lot of pundits will be eating their words now, especially American ones. But you're right; it's almost like watching the same clip over and over again. Obviously, the falling short against the Nets in their first run of this series of runs here,
right?
And then the one loss to the Wizards in embarrassing fashion when they were swept. And then LeBron. Basically, every time you're going up against LeBron, it was an exit for the Raptors. That's what helped them coin the term LeBronto. So as soon as he moved west and the Raptors acquired a superstar of their own, that was able to turn the tide for them. But it's just and we'll talk about it later, I'm sure, with the Blues. But there's always so many great storylines that come with a championship run. And this really was a run of underdogs. I mean, outside of even Kawhi Leonard was not a top 10 pick. Kyle Lowry was not a top 10 pick. You've got guys who had to make their way in the G League. Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, who were both exceptional in the clinching game. I don't know how many big shots Fred VanVleet hit while checking Steph Curry. So usually your primary objective in a matchup like that is to neutralize an all-world talent, the best shooter of all time, in Steph Curry. But then to be able to give you 22 points on the other end of the floor, including some big buckets in the third and fourth when Kyle cooled off a little bit after a great start. And Pascal, I mean, you can't say more about him either. The effort he gives you on both ends of the floor, going right at Draymond Green's, tying Lowry with a game-high 26, and then you got Kawhi. Didn't have his best game, but he didn't need to because the supporting cast was so good. And then you've got the veterans who have been there before but not quite achieved this level of success, and Ibaka and Marc Gasol. So and Danny Green, who has won before, but didn't have his best series. So to get production pretty much across the board from a team that a lot of people would have written off. I mean, a lot of people probably would have had the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like you said, probably even the Sixers in the Eastern Conference semifinals. And I don't think many people had them beating the dynastic Golden State Warriors. We know they had injuries, and we'll probably get that to a little bit as we talk about free agency. And they did have some devastating ones. But, I mean, there are no asterisks beside any title. Other teams have had the same fortune or the same, not that at all, misfortune. When it comes to playoffs, and guys get hurt, it's part of the game.
Now, I want you to be honest. How strongly did you consider booking a flight to Toronto to be part of this parade today?
Not the parade. You know, as soon as they booked their ticket to the finals, I investigated the possibility. I think I only looked at flights, and it wasn't outrageous. But
well, I'm sure game tickets would have been outrageous.
Ticket prices, on the other hand, my goodness, no. Not that was not a possibility for me. But it would have been amazing to even be in Jurassic Park. But even that, you got to dedicate,
got to camp out for a few
day
nights.
or two of your life beforehand if you just want to get in. But obviously it's a really cool moment. And I'm sure there were a lot of people here in town watching today. It was quite cool to see.
You still buzzing?
Still, but it still feels surreal.
Yeah.
I'll still watch the the final 2 minutes, right, of the clinching game, and they had to drag it on too.
Of course, yeah. That final 9 seconds lasted 15 minutes.
Exactly.
It was ridiculous.
The Danny Green turnover with 9 seconds, that just had my. That's why I closed my window. There were some very choice words from a player who shouldn't be making those mistakes, but all was well. But it was when they put on that 0.9 again.
Yeah,
like my goodness, they really don't want to see this Canadian team walk away with a trophy. Do they?
How can we make this climactic moment completely anticlimactic?
Exactly.
Let's drag it out for an additional 10 minutes. Or
so.
I will say though, I was a little bit in and out of Game 6 there. I was watching for certainly for the last 3 minutes or so. I was locked in, but I remember at one point checking back in and looking at my phone, and we had a group chat between you, me, and Jesse.
Yes.
And my God, you guys are so emotional.
Yeah. Especially Wheeler too, right? Like
I experienced that watching Game 5 with you, and I think it was maybe halfway through the third quarter.
Yeah.
And Golden State had gone on a bit of a run, had maybe like a 12-point lead or something like that, and Jesse's just like, no,
it's over,
game's over.
Yeah,
Jesse, there's a quarter and a half of basketball left, and then lo and behold, they brought it within 1 point and almost won the game on the last shot. But
next time the Habs go on a championship run, we need to be in a room with him when that happens. I was in a room with him for the Jose Bautista home run. Was that back in 2015?
Yes.
Game 5 against the Rangers. Yeah, that was
the old bat flip.
He's a fun guy to watch sports with. He gets fired up.
Oh,
and it's contagious.
I don't know how his heart handles it, to be honest. Speaking of, you mentioned LeBronto just a little bit earlier. So the NBA championship is in the bag.
Yep.
Toronto Raptors champions for the first time in history. That'll never be taken away from them. But next season on the horizon, LeBron is already putting the pieces in place.
Yeah.
Talk about it as though he's the GM. Like he kind of is like the co-GM of any team he plays on. He's putting the pieces in place to assemble his next super team.
Right. And well, the word came out yesterday. The Lakers have officially traded for Anthony Davis, who they've been long linked to after he told management in New Orleans that he would not re-sign with the Pelicans, to the surprise of no one, especially after they lost to Marcus Cousins the year prior. The two have long been linked together. He made it known that he wanted to go to either New York or L.A., and you were alluding to the fact that LeBron is the GM. Reports were coming out, like, because he went down with that bad groin injury last year. I think missed 25 plus games or so, and the Lakers season it was probably already done before that, but they had I think they were all the way up until fourth, but that would have been early in the first half of the season. Yeah. As soon as he went out, it was just a tailspin from there on out, and they obviously didn't make the playoffs, as we know. But there were reports coming out after the fact that the younger guys felt rejected by LeBron because he was ready to trade the farm.
Right.
Every pick you could imagine, and basically the entire young core of the team. In the end, the haul going the other way. Lonzo Ball, much to the chagrin of LeVar Ball, whose other son, actually, I think it was reported today, is going to Australia to play ball. His plan was to have all his kids play on the Lakers together. That's not going to happen.
That is falling apart in a hurry.
Brendan Ingram and Josh Hart also going the other way, with 3 first-round picks, including the 4th overall pick in the upcoming NBA draft. So, hey, if you're the Pelicans, that's a really good haul.
Yeah.
They also have the 1st overall pick in this year's draft and will very likely select Zion Williamson of Duke. So the rebuild starts now for the Pelicans. That's a really good haul. The big losers for me, Boston, who has a bevy of young talent and picks at their disposal that they easily could have dangled. So you're kind of surprised they weren't able to put a more attractive package together.
Right.
Jason Tatum has long been linked to the Pelicans as part of a package. And then the New York Knicks, who are going to suffer another blow because they've long been linked to KD, Kevin Durant, who just ruptured his Achilles tendon and may never be the same player again. And now reports out of Golden State that they, despite Clay's torn ACL and Kevin Durant's ruptured Achilles tendon, plan on offering both of them max contract. So
Right.
this was supposed to be a really interesting summer for free agents. You know, if you're a Raptors fan, maybe you're sweating a bit now because I think Kawhi becomes the most attractive free agent.
Right.
But I think all signs right now are pointing to him either returning to the Raptors, maybe on a shorter deal, or going to the Clippers. And I mean, I think everyone can kind of be at peace with that. He did exactly what he was supposed to do by coming here. And if he wants to go play in closer to home, he's from San Diego, then you can't blame the guy. But you were mentioning the super team. It doesn't seem like the Lakers are done, which is kind of scary.
Yeah, there were some rumors I had heard that that Kawhi might look to the Lakers, and possibly head there. Do you think this trade kind of hinders that, or do you think it doesn't really make a difference? Like he's going to do what he's going to do.
I think he's long been linked to the Clippers more than the Lakers.
Okay.
And there have been so many reports coming about other stars, and especially if you're Kawhi, you're a superstar. Some after this performance saying he's the best right now in the NBA. I think if you're talking two-way, just because of how LeBron has regressed on the defensive side of the ball, I think that's a pretty fair thing to say that
Kinda hard to
Kawhi
argue,
is the best all-rounded player in the NBA right now. You're probably giving the offensive edge to someone like Durant, but who knows what state he'll be back when he does return to action. But other all-stars linked to the Lakers now, Kyrie Irving, which is interesting. Obviously, him and LeBron played together and won a chip in Cleveland together.
Didn't they not get along, though?
Yeah.
Am I making that up?
Well, I think Kyrie, you're not at all. No, there was some division there. There was a fracture, and I think Kyrie wanted to be the top dog. He wanted to have his team. He went to Boston, and it did not work out at all. On paper, they might have one of the most talented teams in the entire league, starting five outside of Golden State. They probably do. And obviously fell well short of their goal this year. Milwaukee figured them out in 4 straight and beat them in the gentleman's sweep in 5. Kemba Walker of the Hornets also linked. I don't see Kawhi going there. He doesn't need to play alongside someone like LeBron. I don't know if, I mean, obviously it would work out, but I think he might want his own team. So I think that's why a Clippers marriage would make a bit more sense, or returning to the Raptors. Him and Kyle seem to have formed a nice relationship, and he's obviously won there. So
I mean, he's already proven that he can win as the guy. Like, you could make the argument that when he won with the Spurs, he was the playoff MVP. Yeah. But he had a pretty strong supporting cast around him too. I mean, not to say that like we talked about right off the top of this segment, the Raptors supporting cast stepped up big time throughout the NBA, the playoffs, and right into the finals. But Kawhi was still the guy. He was the marquee name, and he now has a second championship to his name. So I don't think it's too far fetched to say that. I don't know if you want to share that stardom with a guy like LeBron James, who obviously wants to be the guy.
Yeah. And I guess the last sort of interesting one would be Klay Thompson, but again, what happens now because of his injury? The formula with LeBron teams is really to spread him around with shooters. He's a guy who needs the ball in his hand. He's ball dominant and dictates the play. So traditionally, teams that have won around him will be surrounded with shooters, and there's no better 3-and-D specialists in the world, maybe ever, than Klay Thompson. And now LeBron gets a chance to play with probably the best big of his career. He obviously played with Kevin Love and Chris Bosh, and taking away nothing from them. Anthony Davis is right up there and firmly in the prime of his career. So they will do some damage. They will definitely be back in the playoffs next year, and watch out for them assembling a super team.
Just got to ruin everyone's fun, don't you, LeBron?
Right after the Raptors win, too. He's got to demoralize them. No congratulations tweet. And now ESPN is all LeBron.
That's right.
We forgot about the Raptors already.
All right. Well, one more time from Cabin Sports Radio. Congratulations to the Toronto Raptors, NBA champions in 2019. We'll talk about that other championship that happened after we take a break on Cabin Sports Radio.
You're listening to Cabin Sports Radio, brought to you by Sport North. Moving sport forward.
Cabin Sports Radio brought to you by Sport North, moving sport forward, like you just heard. So we're going to change up the order a little bit. We said we were going to talk about the Stanley Cup Finals. We are going to put that on hold just for one segment because I think Jesse Wheeler may be on his way, and I know he'll have an opinion on that.
He'll want to talk some puck.
He has opinions.
He does.
I don't know if you've noticed.
Oh, He's an emotional guy.
He's
with
an
opinions.
emotional guy.
We've established that.
Yes.
And we love him for it.
We do, absolutely. It's why we keep him around.
Yep.
So we're going to talk CFL Week 1 instead, because I know Jesse has no interest in that, and I would rather have him talk about something he's interested in rather than derail a segment completely. So, CFL Week 1. You might not have heard that it happened because, unfortunately, for the CFL, the season opener between the Hamilton Ticats and Saskatchewan Roughriders happened last Thursday when there happened to be a NBA final.
Pretty important
Game
basketball
6
game.
happening. So I don't think anyone really knew that the CFL season opener was happening. Nevertheless, it did take place. I'm actually not even sure if it was televised.
And I think I had, because the last game was on TSN, I believe, because Jay and Dan came on right after the game.
Yes.
And there was absolutely nothing else
Just
in that program
crickets.
at all.
Yeah.
So, no, to your point, I did not even know that game took place.
Yeah, really, I mean, unfortunate because you can't predict exactly how long the NBA playoffs are going to go, or even the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs for that matter. You can give it your best shot. And you certainly can't predict that the Toronto Raptors are going to be competing in Game 6 of the NBA Finals, thus taking the attention of the whole country away from its one professional football league. Nevertheless, that game went ahead. The Hamilton Tiger Cats defeated the Saskatchewan Roughriders 23-17 in the 2019 CFL season opener. Elsewhere, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers picked up a first week victory 33-23 over the BC Lions. The Montreal Alouettes were defeated by the Edmonton Eskimos in a very good debut for Trevor Harris, taking over from Mike Riley, 32-25 final score in that one. And the defending Grey Cup champions, the Calgary Stampeders, went down in Game 1 to the Ottawa Red Blacks. The Grey Cup rematch, 32-28, the final score in that one. Unfortunately for the CFL and, the optics of the league, the big headline of Week 1 is a controversial hit in that first game, which, again, nobody knew about until a couple days later when it started getting reported on. Simone Lawrence, veteran linebacker for the Hamilton Ticats, caught Zach Collaros with a late hit as he was going into a slide and caught him with a shoulder to the helmet. Collaros has a concussion history and has since been put on the 6-game injured reserve for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Really unfortunate. And it just it came out today that Simone Lawrence has been handed a 2-game suspension by the CFL. So, unfortunate that's, one game and you got a star quarterback who's already out for some time and possibly more than 6 games given his concussion history. But at the same time, kind of encouraging to see that the CFL they're making an early precedent with those kinds of hits. 2-game suspension to Simone Lawrence. Yeah.
Yeah, you hate to see that kind of stuff. And you see it in the NFL too with the links between such an aggressive sport, and then the correlations they have with CTE and post-concussion syndrome. Yeah. So you want the league should take an onus, and you appreciate when they do, whether it's in the form of suspension. I know a lot of them have really strict protocols that they'll put players through. They'll have spotters in the stands, ways to just look out for guys after sustaining head injuries, because we know short-term and long-term the serious detrimental effects they can have on one's health. So you're pulling for Collaros at this point, especially someone with a history of concussions, like you said, and Lawrence, hopefully with a 2-game ban, you won't see that again. Yeah, and I mean, it is, like you kind of mentioned, it is tough with the nature of professional football, given that it is such a violent sport. Up there with even more so than hockey, you might say, in certain cases. And plus the fact that, if this was the NHL, like Game 1 of the NHL regular season, and you saw someone take just a blatant headshot,
that would be the time for the NHL to probably hand out, and I hate to say it, but it does depend on the player,
Yes.
on the perpetrator.
Totally.
For whether they have a history, a reputation for this sort of thing, or just to, again, set a precedent with someone who is just trying to make a name for themselves by, going after a Sidney Crosby or something like that. It's tougher for professional football to hand out those kinds of immediately, obviously strict punishments because it's only an 18-game season as opposed to an 82-game season. If you have a fourth liner in the NHL who misses the first 10 games of the season, it's kind of this is just a good opportunity for us to give one of our younger guys a spot and get some looks at what he's got to offer. But it's it's not that easy in the CFL, unfortunately, and plus the fact that these guys, if it's an unpaid suspension, these guys are they're making better money than they've ever made, but they're still not making NFL money.
No.
So if you're giving up 2 games worth of paycheck that can hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
At the same time, that makes a really strong impact and sends a really important message that, like you said, this is 2019. We know the effects of concussions and CTE long term, and it is time to get that sort of play out of the game.
Yeah, I think the two richest contracts, I don't know in CFL history, but certainly right now with Mike Riley and Bo Levi Mitchell, still shy of I think just under the $3 million mark, 4 years.
I think so, yeah.
So, AAVs for the top tier players, you're looking at maybe 750, 800,000. But I mean, for someone of Lawrence's caliber, not going to be in that pay grade. So you don't want to see guys miss time. But at the same time, you don't want to see people go with injuries, especially ones that could have damaging long-term effects. Yeah.
So, an interesting week one. Really good games all around, actually. I mean, really
You must be happy about your Bombers.
They look good.
They did.
They looked good. I mean, this is the plight of a Bombers fan. They, trying to stay cautiously optimistic, but I mean, this is a team that they've been competitive. They've had a core in place, right on down, up to the GM, the coach Mike O'Shea. He's been in place for I think this might be his 4th or 5th season at the helm now. So he's had some time as head coach to learn and develop his head coaching skills. They've got a really solid core in place, and they improved on what was their weakest spot last season through the offseason at receiver. They added to their depth, picking up Chris Matthews, who was a former Bomber, also former Seattle Seahawk, also played for the Calgary Stampeders in their Grey Cup victory this past November. So it's a very encouraging start for my Blue Bombers for sure. But just a really good week one in the CFL overall. But Jesse Wheeler is in the studio right now. And so we got to move on. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we will talk NHL Stanley Cup Finals on Cabin Sports Radio.
The Cabin Sports Radio podcast, brought to you by Sport North, moving sport forward.
Cabin Sports Radio brought to you by Sport North. Check out sportnorth.com. They are moving sport forward. Jesse Wheeler joins us as we turn to the NHL. How you doing, Wheel?
Pretty good, buddy. Pretty good. Thanks for letting me crash, man. I knew the first show. I know we're going to talk about the finals right now, the NHL finals, but the first show after them Raptors, I had to be here with Mike. I had to be here.
Yeah,
he's over it already.
Are you?
No, he's not.
It's
He's
surreal.
still buzzing.
I thought you were doing the Kawhi laugh at the start there.
Oh my god! Did you?
How he ended the
He's throwing out for the crowd today.
Oh my god! So good.
Fun guy segment.
Yeah, that's right.
You actually came in the studio with breaking news, though, that the New York Rangers and the Winnipeg Jets had made a trade. Jacob Trouba
for Pionk.
Yeah, for Neil Pionk.
And a 20th overall pick.
A household name there.
Absolutely.
Neil Pionk.
That's right. We're all Pionkers over here.
Yeah. So we were, we were going to wrap up the Stanley Cup recap, rather, the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. Of course, we all delighted in seeing Brad Marchand cry as the Boston Bruins lost in 7 games to the St. Louis Blues. Why are you shaking your head? You loved it.
No, I'm shaking my head as in, oh my God, I couldn't even believe. You know when people like react negatively, but they're very positive?
Yes.
It's almost the opposite.
Oh, wow.
Like when people, like when Drake gets a real serious face when they're doing something really good. It's like that. I'm like, oh my God, I can't even believe it.
Yeah.
I can't even believe it.
I nailed
Watching
it so hard it made you angry. is what
Watching
you're
him
saying.
cry was so good. So good. And like that's the thing though, like I hate Brad Marchand. I would love to have him on my team. If he was on Montreal,
Totally.
I'd be like, what are you talking about? Brad Marchand could do wrong. But
I'd love to have a different person with his kind of talent
Yeah.
on my team. I think that's about the
a
nicest
guy who
thing I could
thought
say
things
about
out
Brad
better,
Marchand.
maybe.
Yeah, you know.
Well, that's the thing about what I thought about Max Domi when he got traded. I was like, I hate this kid. And now he's on your team, and you're like, this is pretty good. 26 goals.
What's the hate about Max?
His face.
Oh.
Straight up.
Just looks like a slightly cuter version of Ty.
For like a half of a split second there,
Which is not great,
I really
but-
thought Jesse was going to encourage us to take the high road. Well, that look that he had
I thought
there,
so too,
I was
yeah.
like, wow, well, we're bad people.
How
Lecter.
dare
No.
you make fun
Not
of
for-
his passion?
Not for Brad Marchand. No, I mean, no one's making fun of his passion.
No.
No one's making fun of his passion
No.
or his talent for the game. What we're making fun of is the fact that he is a total D-bag and like does like sketchy stuff all over the ice. And then, and complains about reffing and complains about everything, and then he loses, and he's just like, oh, "My heart,
I mean,
my heart's
he-
broken." It's like, oh, whatever.
He has to know that no one feels bad for him.
Well,
right?
I imagine
like
his
he's got
mother does or something.
Well, sure, his mom, but that doesn't count. Like, well, I guess she counts.
Very reminiscent of Game 7 in 2011, where the outcome was never in jeopardy.
Never in
Yeah.
doubt.
They
Never doubt. Same
got up
score
to-
too, wasn't
yeah,
it?
exact same
No, it was
score.
5-1. 5-1
Was
for
it?
St. Louis,
Yeah.
but it was 4-1 for Boston.
No
No, it was
production.
4-0 in Boston.
Yeah,
for Vancouver.
it was 4-0 at one point. I think Tarasenko got the fourth and meaningless goal. No
Yeah.
production from the top line.
Nothing.
Binnington was outstanding. Was 2 minutes away, I think, from a shutout in
Yeah.
a clinching game, which would have been fantastic.
That's why he lost the Conn Smythe.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, like
Yeah.
how did he miss out on the Conn Smythe trophy?
I think, and this is one of those very rare postseason runs where I think maybe more Canadians were tuned into the NBA Finals than the NHL, the
Oh,
Stanley
God,
Cup
yeah.
Final.
And
No
the Blues had the
question.
most Canadian team.
yeah,
They
yeah.
had 20 Canadian
Yeah.
players or something.
But I don't know how it was lost on me the run that Ryan O'Reilly had. He had a fantastic
five
spring.
straight games
He
with a
did,
goal.
yeah.
I think it was 4 in the Stanley Cup Final straight.
5.
Was it 5?
5 goals.
Okay, no, but in four straight games. Yeah, which tied him with Gretzky back in '95. That was 85 was the last time that was done. 15 assists, 8 goals over 26 games. And then most of them coming in the biggest moments, like
That's
in the
right.
clinching series. So I thought it was Binnington's show.
yeah.
And then the whole underdog story, first Stanley Cup Finals appearance in 52 years. I don't know how that was somehow lost on me, but O'Reilly had a run for the ages.
I guess in general, you could say that anytime you do anything that Wayne Gretzky did,
Yeah.
you should probably be the MVP of something. So,
I suppose.
yeah, fair enough. Ryan O'Reilly, Conn Smythe winner. Like you have down your 23 points in the playoffs, 8 goals, 15 assists in 26 games. I mean, that's and with a defensive minded team like the St. Louis Blues were. Those kinds of numbers, like they stand out. Like that's a really good playoff for anyone, let alone a team on a player on a very defensive-minded team.
Yeah.
But obviously, the big story being the first franchise victory for
Crazy.
the St. Louis Blues. 51 years in the
52 years.
making?
Yeah.
52
52nd
years.
years.
Yeah.
And it had been swept out of the previous 3, 2 at
Yeah.
the hands of the Habs. Wheeler loves it, and then 1 against the Bruins,
Which produced,
no one loves.
Well, which produced the most famous hockey picture of all time.
Yeah,
Which is
I mean-
Bobby Orr flying through
That's
the air.
right.
It was enough of an accomplishment to just win one game in that series. They
That's right.
won 4 and
right.
won a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
So yeah, good for them. But yeah, it was bizarre seeing the NBA Finals just be all that was really
Yeah.
happening in the minds of Canadians, regardless.
15.6 million Canadians turned into that game at one time or another. Like the only other game that did that was the gold medal game in 2010.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, of course, now, just much like the NBA season, once that's over, we immediately start talking about the offseason and free agency. As we mentioned just off the top of this break, Jacob Trouba heading to the Rangers. He is a restricted free agent, so basically they will have the opportunity to lock him up to a deal. and Neil Pionk heading the other way to Winnipeg.
Household name.
Yeah, that's right.
Neil
With,
Pionk.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but at the same time, helping the Jets replenish some of their draft picks as they'd given a few up the last few years. So it's pretty good for them to get the 20th overall pick in the 2019 draft.
They're garbage. They're not going to make the playoffs next year.
Oh wow,
The Jets.
wow.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
they
calling
gave was it a first round for the Hayes rental? It wasn't a first round, was it?
I don't remember.
They're going to
can't
trade
recall,
Line A
yeah.
before the end of the season.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Damn.
predictions abound from the wheel. Okay.
And that stupid simpleton Eric Carlson.
Oh, yes.
What a simple-minded dolt.
Yeah, what an idiot signing a $92 million contract extension.
In San Jose. You're not going to win a cup in San Jose.
Why not?
You're
Hey.
not going to win a cup. They had their best chance this year. Blew it.
Oh, I
They
think
were
they
pretty-
had their best chance when they were in the Stanley Cup.
Oh, there was
Finals,
no chance they
but,
were winning that series.
They were pretty banged up. I mean,
Yeah.
I know
because
that's
the average age of that team is like 40.
very fair. That is very. Though they have guys locked up. I mean, they've
Yeah.
Couture and Hurdle and their defensive core of now Carlson,
Yeah.
Burns, and Vlasic.
Pickles!
I think, all tied up through, I think, the 2025 season.
good.
So that's
Yeah.
good that you got your core group of guys together.
Now, $26.5 million being spent on those three
Those three
in
defensemen.
cap space
Yeah.
alone.
That's not bad.
I mean, you've got to have a strong defense to make a run. So, fair enough. And I mean, a healthy Eric Carlson rather than an Eric Carlson whose groin is hanging by a thread from tearing completely is probably going to perhaps put you over the edge in that series against the St. Louis Blues.
I predict
But-
Carey Price gets traded to the San Jose Sharks.
oh, wow.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Third
This is
major.
a good,
wow.
This is a good show.
None
Okay.
of this will age well. I think Carey Price is going to get traded.
We'll trot all of this back out in October. We'll save this audio.
That's right.
Well, that's why
And,
podcasts are great. We have
right.
we have proof
Of everything.
of every prediction the wheel has made.
But,
all three of them
all
in
three.
the last 2 minutes.
But yeah, so San Jose, that was the big news of the day, re-signing Eric Carlson to an 8-year, $92 million contract extension, which is about $11.5 million per season. Some other big names that are, at this point, headed to free agency, one of them with those San Jose Sharks, Joe Pavelski.
Yeah.
He is an unrestricted free agent. He is yet to be re-signed by the Sharks, and by all means, right now, looks like he may be headed for the open market.
Wow.
So that's a pretty interesting one too. I mean, he's not exactly young. I can't remember exactly how old, but in his mid 30s,
37, I think.
Okay, I was gonna guess like 35 around there, but I mean, still coming off a 39 goal season, like does not really look like he's slowing down. Aside from bleeding from his ear a little bit in the playoffs,
And they
but
missed
he got
him.
past
They
that.
missed him when he was out, and he
Absolutely.
made contributions when he
34.
34. Okay. Yeah.
And bleeding from his brain.
And bleeding already.
All that brain swelling is going to be really hamper his training.
Yeah, of course. So that's a really interesting one. Of course, the Leafs rumors have been nonstop.
Well, they're swirling.
pretty much throughout the playoffs.
What do they have now? 2 weeks to sign Mitch Marner?
They've actually signed 2 of Patty Marleau's kids to entry-level contracts, so they'll be on the ice next year. They've been rooming with Marleau and or with
Those two have
Matthews
a fun,
and Marner. So
yeah, they have a fun little relationship.
yeah, they
Marner
really
and
turned those kids
Marleau.
around. They were garbage before those kids showed up.
But his kids are already like 25, so they should be in the peak of their career. Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh, doesn't he have like little kids too?
I don't know.
I think he's got a couple like 10-year-olds.
You mean other than Mitch Marner and Austin? Matthews?
Yeah, those 2 kids. Yeah, he's got like 2 kids that are prepubescent that
Right.
the Leafs are seriously considering putting in.
But getting back to Carlson just one more time, he is now the third highest paid player in the league, just behind Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews.
Yeah, no, I don't buy that at all.
You don't buy that?
Well, I mean, I don't know for what.
Do you not think he's worth the third highest paid player in the league
highest paid
status?
player. I remember Mike Babcock saying something about him being the best player in the world. I was like, at what?
Hockey.
At right D? Like, who cares?
Kind of important.
It's
think-
all right. He's pretty good.
I'll agree. Like that's
He doesn't have a cup.
That's
He's
a
been in the,
hefty-
he's
No,
been
he
in the
doesn't have
league.
a cup.
How long has he
No.
been in the league?
Yeah.
8 years?
Two
no cup?
Norris trophies.
Subban. PK Subban is a Norris
Yeah.
trophy. Come on.
I think
They
it's
have 2.
Who cares?
I think it's a win for the Sharks. I mean, especially what could have been a rental for them.
Yeah.
And even as recently as this week, there were the rumors swirling of a possible reunion with the Senators, and then
He
even
wanted
the Habs.
offers. He wanted an offer from the Habs.
The Habs. He wanted competitive offers. I guess his wife is from, I don't know if she's from Montreal or Ottawa.
Yeah,
but
I think she's from Montreal.
I imagine they still have a house out that way. So he wanted a competitive offer from
Oh my
either
God,
club.
if they offered him any less than what he took, I will kill Mark Bergevin.
I mean, obviously, Ottawa wasn't going to offer him anything.
No.
considerable
I mean, it's
because
also. I mean,
they would have done that already,
Yeah,
like last year,
yeah.
if they were
taxes
to do that,
have to
right?
be taken into account.
There.
In Quebec, he'd lose like 59% of
Yeah.
his yearly salary.
Plus, you got to play in Montreal.
Hey, some people don't like the spotlight. I guess Carlson likes to. He's shrinking away from.
Just likes
from
to
the
lay
pressure.
low in California.
Well, I mean, yeah.
But I mean, what would this see him through? His 37th year? He's 29 years old.
Oh,
Just
he's never
inked
going
it.
to play out that full contract.
No. Oh, you already hear the naysayers saying he'll be bought out in 4 years' time or something
Bought
like
out.
that.
No,
maybe
he'd be
they'll
traded
they'll
within
move
3
him.
seasons.
They'll move him.
Dion Phaneuf got bought out.
Why is Carey Price going to get traded?
I don't know.
Just a hunch.
Just a hunch.
Prediction number 2.
Just a hunch I have right now.
Unfounded.
Dion Phaneuf going to the Montreal Canadiens.
And there it is.
2 years, $2.5 million.
The fourth and final bold prediction from Mr. Jesse Wheeler. All right, we are going to take a break and come back for one final segment here on
Mike
Cabin.
Babcock will fight Austin Matthews.
5 it is.
The CSR Podcast.
Back for one more on Cabin Sports Radio, brought to you by Sport North, moving sport forward. We're going to talk, I don't know why, but we're going to talk a little bit of slow pitch. The Cabin Radio slow pitch team
What do you mean you don't know why?
has had an up and down
my
start
God.
to their inaugural season.
We have come crashing back to earth
Yeah.
without me in the lineup.
Yeah.
2 massive victories to open the season, 15-5, and
Yeah.
then a thriller 11-9 victory in Game 2.
I said 11-9. It was 13-9 when we kept score the night of, and then it was 12-9 the day we spoke about it.
Oh, I knew it
Now
was
it's 11-9.
I knew it was a 2-run win, so I
It's a
was just
squeaker.
throwing out a score
All
there.
right, fair enough.
And then the last 2 games, losing 21-5,
You've been outscored like 52
and then
to
21 to
13 or
6
something.
Wow.
Oh
last
my
night
God.
down at Fritz Field, where the hot
Fritz number
dogs
2.
were fired up. And we just before we came on,
That's right, Ricky. It was a great game.
just before we came on Cabin Sports Radio, the J Bear, who is really quickly establishing himself as one of the Cabin Radio slow pitch team's like premier power hitters.
And
Yeah.
a perennial swordsman here in town. I'm not going to lie to you.
He's gone on the IR along with you here.
What happened?
He pulled a muscle while warming up.
That is almost as bad as me. I warmed up a little and then pulled my muscle as soon as I was no longer in warm-up.
He took way too much responsibility, though.
did,
Putting
yeah.
those 2 losses squarely on himself.
He did, yeah.
Which is not fair.
I'm going to go ahead and double down on that.
Actually, you missed. I yelled at Scott last night.
He did.
I'm not proud of it.
What happened?
Yeah. I needed to hear it.
He needed.
I needed to hear it. Go ahead. Go ahead. Tell what happened.
It was a pop up to first. It was right on the line.
Yeah.
And the first baseman didn't catch it. But pushed it foul. So it was a live ball.
Yeah.
But Buddy didn't run. He was
What?
still in the batter's
Didn't run out
box.
the play.
What?
He didn't run out the play.
Just stood there like an idiot.
Yeah.
What are you, Manny Ramirez?
Pretty much.
All right.
Just
I don't
watch
get the
it.
reference, but pretty much.
And
What
I
are you,
felt
Raul Mondesi? He gets it.
Okay. Yeah, but and Mike Gibbons, the co-manager.
never give up on your team.
He gave me an earful.
You should have.
I will say, though, that it is only by the grace of God that I am even here today, because
Wow.
there was a rope liner right at my
Oh,
face.
yeah.
I was
Yeah.
pitching, and luckily I got my
That's
glove
what
up.
terrifies me the most.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm over my fear of pitching now
Oh,
because
yeah.
that happened. I am over my fear of pitching. Got my glove up, didn't make the catch, but saved my life.
That's why the mound at Fritz Steele is like 8 feet behind where it's supposed to be, because people don't want to get nailed in
No.
the face.
His ERA is slowly dipping.
Oh,
It's
It is
a cool 25, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not great.
It's what you shoot for.
42 runs in my first 2 starting pitches. Looking to improve on that next Monday. But that will do it.
This kid's going to get great. He's going to get better with age.
That'll do it for Cabin Sports Radio. We're going to play you out with a little bit of doctored audio of the St. Louis Blues celebrating their 2019 Stanley Cup victory. Talk to you next Monday on Cabin Sports Radio.
And the fans know.
Well gets it next. And more. More celebrating continues here from St. Louis. We do apologize that there is some exultation language that got on, and we have taken measures that microphone is not turned on now.
You know, once we got that lead, we knew we were going to get it. No, sorry, I apologize. I'm so amped up. I'm so sorry. We knew. The boys are so
I've heard that word in hockey before.
Sorry, I'm terribly sorry.
Okay.
I apologize.